Yes. Good evening. My name is Dr. Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also the president of United in Peace, Inc. This show is being presented by United in Peace, Inc. The issues that I bring before you, my listening and viewing audience, is put together with consultation from none other than the chairman and the producer, but the chairman of United Peace, Inc., Dr. Terry Marsh Bradley. Yes, she's my wife. But the most wonderful thing is the issues that's happening in America, and especially in Chicago, is something that we all need to be talking about. We can't be silent when we see things that's being done and it's being done unjustly. We're going to talk about a Department of Justice that want to investigate the mayor of the city of Chicago and use the Department of Education or whatever it is, if it's still there, but still going to be an investigation about the education when they want to get rid of education, culturally speaking, and especially when they're trying to erase the history within the schools, making reference to any achievements that African Americans has made, regardless of the struggles then and now, and trying to use the 1964 law, especially when the Department of Justice and the Republican Party and everybody around the world is seeing where, or seeing the alleged corruption, depending on what you see and what you investigate and find out that's happening within the White House and the president and his children. And people are questioning everything that's happening and want to know, why is it the Justice Department either turns a blind eye? And why are they only targeting blue states and blue cities? I'll let you be the judge of that. You're entitled to your opinions. But I'm going to say something, because Congresswoman Crockett say people got to say something. We can't just sit by and know that he's doing wrong. Everybody around the world. I'm going to share that with you. So without further ado, let me say, Sister Amani, let's make it do what it do.
Let's keep in mind why they're doing this. We talk about it all the time. You guys talk about it all the time. It's for intimidation. It's to intimidate the president's critics into staying silent. And when you see ridiculous things like that in Chicago, folks can't help but rise up and speak out. I mean, people beyond Rev, like people who would normally not get involved in situations like this. The mayor of Chicago is showing the people of Chicago that he has a government that looks like their city.
Right.
That's all he's doing. And what's also equally what's offensive about why they're opening this investigation, what? So because these officials are black, they are not qualified to be in those positions?
And that is criminal. I mean, to act like it's criminal to make sure that everyone has representation is a threat to everyone. I talked to some ministers in Chicago last night that are not socially involved, that are outraged at this. I mean, what are you saying? He's not saying that we did this at the expense of others. He's showing pride.
You know, the thing that I'm talking about and what I'm saying, we in America, and especially in Chicago, everybody know that we the fairest individuals on the face of the earth. Laws had to be made in order for African Americans to at least get their fair share so that we won't have to get a handout. And they keep talking about a hand up. And it's amazing. We got a president that's talking about the immigration piece and all of that. And the Supreme Court just came back and pretty much approved where the president can now deport Venezuelans. And a lot of them voted for him. And he doing something for 50, I don't know, maybe 60 African Americans. And you talking about privilege. But don't take my word for it. I want to tell you this. What you're seeing, that is what's happening. And it's not right. And the world knows it's not right. So, Sister Monty, let's hit this piece.
White South Africans arriving as refugees at Dulles Airport outside Washington today on a plane chartered by the State Department, a process that usually takes years, greeted by a top-ranking U.S. diplomat.
Welcome. Welcome to the United States of America.
And this from President Trump.
It's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white, but whether they're white or black makes no difference to me.
The president signed an executive order in February calling them victims of unjust racial discrimination from the country's black majority, something the South African government vigorously denies. While today the administration also canceled temporary refugee status for as many as 14,000 Afghans already in the U.S., including many who served alongside the U.S. in the war. All face persecution from the Taliban if they are forced to go back. Veterans groups reacting.
How do American veterans of the war in Afghanistan feel about the way their Afghan interpreters and allies are being treated?
We're pissed off. This is absolutely insane that we would treat people this way.
The welcome for white South Africans also in sharp contrast to another executive order the president signed the day he took office, suspending new refugee admissions for everyone else, including black Sudanese escaping genocide and Latin Americans fleeing violent gangs.
Some tonight question whether Elon Musk played a role in winning refugee status for his fellow white South Africans, because he has repeatedly posted on his platform X about their plight. Lester?
You know it's not right what he's doing. But me, and I know other people, especially us, African Americans know what apartheid was doing over in South Africa. What they did to Mandela and everyone else, we know what they was doing. And it was this country that came together with sanctions against South Africa because of the evil things that they were doing to a people. Then for Trump to make this move like he's doing, the thing that gets me every time I see an African American, and they got a right to freedom of speech, but for you to be speaking about your rights and your constitutional rights, and you know you are pushing a man that do not respect the Constitution and no rights of others, especially yourself, how do you look at your children? You got to have it in the back of your mind. And I'm saying this because when I see on the news and everywhere else where white MAGA farmers are now realizing that he don't care about them. To the point, you don't see that many red hats on white people as you used to see. You can go down south in Illinois. You're going to see Trump signs that's turned upside down in Republican strongholds because they realize him and the Republican Party pushing to get rid of Medicaid, hating on veterans, getting rid of SSI, ain't just to black people. Ain't just to our Hispanic and Latinx, or however they want to lay it, brown people. He wants to be about the 1%er. And the people are getting fed up. And 2026 is right around the corner. So, Sister Monty, let's get on with the next piece.
Their families who depend on them. The city of Chicago is announcing new money to help attract more people to the job, but some workers wonder if it'll be enough. Charlie Vajahusky has that story.
At this North Lawndale YMCA, Tahiti Hamer works to provide child care for other people's children, while she struggles to provide for her own.
Well, I work here, and I love working here. North Lawndale, hands down, is a wonderful place to be.
In Chicago, the average annual pay is in the neighborhood of $35,000 a year.
Early childhood workers are underpaid. It's no coincidence that this workforce is majority women of color.
But now, with a union that represents more than 6,000 early childhood care workers at his side, the mayor of Chicago is offering some relief.
And so today we are putting a down payment specifically on the workforce that's behind the workforce.
A down payment of $7 million available in the new city budget July 1st.
And today feels like we're turning a page in the right direction.
The $7 million won't go far, providing jobs for only about 3,000 workers. But for workers like Tahiti, it could also mean a raise of anywhere between 5 and 10%.
It's going to help with giving me a peace of mind without having to stress about buying groceries or paying child care or waiting to pay my mortgage.
A point she made right in front of the mayor.
But we can't stop here. Today, I am calling on Mayor Johnson and the City Council.
Right in front of me, right?
Asking that the $7 million added to this year's budget be made permanent. In North Lawndale, Charlie Wojciechowski, NBC 5 News.
Our thanks to Charlie.
You know, it's wonderful that the mayor of the city of Chicago, and everybody knows that Chicago is a union town. So for them to be putting the myth out there that he ain't doing nothing for no one, people are now paying attention to what it is that he is doing. And everybody, if you don't know, let me let you know. Chicago is known for having strong mayors, opinionated mayors. Daley #1 was a strong mayor for the city of Chicago. He talked with presidents to come to Chicago to help Chicago. We got a president now. They talking about what happened in St. Louis with the storm. 28 people died. And he hasn't said anything. He hasn't sent FEMA there. But he's screaming about a $400 million plane that the same people who the world allegedly are saying was behind the finance of Hamas. Google it. Don't take my word for it. We in the age where you can look, listen, and learn, and if you're trying to figure out if it's right, you can Google it and check out the verifiable documentation of what I'm saying. Do your own fact check. I just know that it's important for us as Americans to stand up when something is wrong, regardless of what party. But you got a man that's saying, and he told you, he will be a dictator from day one. And everybody that believed in him are now feeling the pain, even from the tariff. He even threatening Walmart and telling them to eat the tariff. Walmart said, no, we're going to let the people know. The reason that price went up on the food and everything that we got is because of the president's tariff. Not Congress' tariff, the president's tariff. And the little black pen that he be using to sign those executive orders. I know you're saying, well, Gator, you know, he locked up everybody. He may come get you, and you may end up in South Africa prison or whatever it is. I just want to tell you this. I do know that there's a God. And if there wasn't a God, there would not be a Pope that's now from America by way of Chicago and Dalton. And I'm saying that because I'm a God-fearing man. And I pray to him to keep me safe against a man that really don't believe in God and he holds his Bible upside down. Now, back to the matter at hand. Sister Money, let's go to work.
Mayor Brandon Johnson is doubling down on comments about the racial makeup of his administration, even as the Justice Department vows to investigate whether his hiring practices violate civil rights laws.
WGN's political reporter Taman Bradley is here with the very latest on this. Taman.
Lourdes, Ben, it was a topic Mayor Johnson seemed happy to take on during his weekly presser: diversity in government. As the feds investigate Chicago employment practices, Mayor Johnson tried to flip the script on President Trump.
My administration reflects the country, it reflects the city. His administration reflects the country club.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson slamming the lack of diversity in President Trump's cabinet as the mayor responds to questions about city hiring practices.
The approach is an approach that speaks to competency. That's it.
The U.S. Justice Department's Civil Rights Division says it's opened an investigation to determine whether the Johnson administration is improperly hiring based on race. The DOJ points to statements Johnson made this past Sunday at a black church in Woodlawn.
The deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man.
Johnson routinely brags about his administration's diversity, and he says he will not be intimidated by the federal government.
Why wouldn't I speak to Black Chicago? Why wouldn't I? Who is going to be mad at the fact that we have to prioritize spaces in the city that have been harmed the most? Everybody agrees with that.
The mayor's office released data showing 34% of staff are black, 30% are white, 24% Latino, and 7% Asian. And the mayor stressed he doesn't see anything wrong with highlighting the racial ethnicity of employees.
It sounds like to me that people tune in to what they want to tune into. I'm going to say Cristina Pasion-Zayas, Beatrice Ponce de Leon, Cynthia Soto, CEO and General Superintendent Ramirez Rosa. Is that offensive?
The mayor pointing out that when a particular group in Chicago asks about their needs, he shares with them stats about people from their community on his team. Ben and Lourdes.
Artie Taman, thank you.
You know, I'm glad the mayor's taking the stance that he's taking, and he's coming to the community he coming into the community to let the people know what is really happening. And I like the way that he's doing his tour through the churches so the people can come in and they can speak and ask them questions on what they didn't know. Because everybody is afraid. And they don't want City of Chicago to become red. So all those individuals that's against the mayor, and especially the 15 Ward aldermen, well, he gave Trump another way to come and kick the city and do all this. Well, you with Trump. Whatever Trump is trying to do, you've been real silent when you see the crime that he's doing and what he's doing, especially to Hispanic people. You're real quiet. The alderman of the 2nd Ward, real quiet. I sat in city council yesterday at the finance committee meeting, and it was an African-American woman where the finance committee was voting on trying to make a decision if she should get $8 million that the city settled because 2 police officers refused to help this African-American woman when she accidentally locked herself out the house, and it was cold, below freezing. She just had no shoes on, house coat on. And they refused to help her to the point that her legs got amputated. And they voted against that woman. They voted against her. Even one of the aldermen that's handicapped voted against that woman receiving a settlement. I'm glad that the Finance Committee, regardless of their votes, voted to bring before the City Council for the full City Council to vote on it. Let's get to the next one. Sister Amani.
Of the Justice Department continues in a big way. NBC News is reporting that the FBI's Washington field office is folding its federal public corruption squad. That's according to 3 people familiar with the matter. It happens to be the very same unit that worked on Jack Smith's special counsel investigation into Donald Trump. The field office has 3 units that work on public corruption issues, but this one, known internally as CR-15, was deeply involved in the Bureau's Arctic frost investigation, which was the precursor to the Jack Smith probe into efforts to overturn the 2020 election results by Donald Trump and his allies. That investigation resulted in one of the two federal criminal cases against Donald Trump, both of which were dropped after he won the election in November. Earlier this year, the Justice Department slashed its public integrity section, which had also worked on public corruption cases. Members of the unit had also resigned after refusing to sign off on dropping the federal corruption case against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Here's how one former Justice Department official puts it, quote, "This is yet another sign that it's open season for political corruption. The administration gutted the public integrity section, neutered the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., and is now shuttering the FBI's preeminent federal public corruption squad. This isn't what voters had in mind when they heard drain the swamp." We're back with Andrew and Melissa. Melissa, this was telegraphed, but to see it put in motion and dismantled is still staggeringly shocking.
You're shocked? I'm not shocked by this.
I mean, it's amazing that the government would say we're not going to do this anymore. It's sort of a basic government function. And for Trump to corrupt and grift, but say he's still against corruption is actually more Trumpy than to corrupt and grift and actually get rid of the enforcement mechanism for catching other people in acts of corruption.
I'm not at all surprised by this. They said they were going to do this. They've been very clear and telegraphing what they are going to do. This isn't just about neutering the FBI's public corruption unit. It's about neutering the DOJ as an enforcement mechanism to enforce the laws of the United States that this administration doesn't care about or doesn't agree with. We've seen the DOJ's priorities shift on a myriad of different issues, whether it's voting rights, DEI. This is just one and the same. And I will just note, because I love to point out how the Supreme Court has essentially midwifed what we have seen here. The Supreme Court has for years whittled down the scope of federal statutes that allow entities like the Public Corruptions Unit to bring cases. So last year, there was a case called Snyder versus U.S. that said essentially that it was okay to tip your public official as long as it wasn't a bribe. It was a tip, but not a bribe. Tips are okay, bribes are not. And Justice Jackson, in a dissent, wrote, "This is a decision that only this court could love." And she's right. I mean, so yes, we can blame the FBI, we can blame the administration, but we should also offer a healthy dose of blame to the court that has essentially paved the way for an administration that wants to grift, that wants to be corrupt.
At some point, it stops being, though, about the courts and about the Trump administration, about us as a country. Historically, the politics of corruption have been abysmal for any Democrat or Republican. I mean, it wasn't a partisan issue. It was politically unpopular to be corrupt, to take money, bribes or tips, whatever you want to call them. Do you think that we're at sort of a...
You know, you hearing it, you seeing it, that's what's happening. And understand this, Trump is after you too. Not just Gator, not just Al Sharpton, not just the Democratic Party. He went up on the Hill today and publicly, cameras everywhere, and threatened the Republican Party. He got them so scared, he went up there and threatened them that if they didn't push that bogus bill that's going to cut Medicaid, he's going to run a candidate against them in the primary. Let me tell you this. If those Republicans that vote for that bill, Trump ain't going to be able to keep them in office because the people, he may not see what the people are saying. He don't care what the people are saying. The people going to vote them out come 2026, out the House and out the Senate. And if it's God's will, if there's another impeachment, we all should pray that there's enough senators to bring America back to what it really is in a democratic posture within a republic. I want to say to God be the glory. This Gator story. Stay prayerful, and stay prayerful.